Starting. Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to the Web Server Framework meeting. This is the 7th of May 2024. And let's get started with our agenda. I will add myself to the agenda. Okay, before we get started, there are any announcements? If not, I think we can go to the actual agenda. So the agenda is actually pretty short. There's just one item, which seems weird. But we have the future of HTTP high-level API design, issue number 60 of Web Server Frameworks. Well, if you see someone trying to join, please ping me because I'm not looking at the Slack. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the issue. I think there was some news on this issue. We have created a new repository in which I published the what a low-level implementation of the new HTTP server could look like. And I presented this at the Collab Summit in London last month. But from my side, there hasn't been any work on this feature. Let's see here. Yeah, there is some discussion currently going on this. So,
yes, that's
is
me.
there? Okay.
So just to make a short story, essentially the initial strategy for HTTP Next seemed to be that servers should accept all HTTP versions sort of transparently. And I reached out to my network, and it seemed like there are still some use cases where you might want to limit HTTP versions that you want to listen to for a given service, especially in highly secure situations. So this is why I adapted some of the older high-level implementation examples that were put. So I think it was a GIST from Wes at back in 2020, which had this setup of allow HTTP 1, 2, 3, which was perhaps, as he mentioned, lots of opportunities for foot guns. So one potential solution there would be for people to specify when they want to listen for a given HTTP version, and perhaps user libraries could, abstract, these different version combinations, or also have an automatic mode where it sort of follows the initial strategy of, being transparent with being sort of automatic with HTTP versions.
Yeah, I fully agree with your comment. I think that we should, like, the user should be explicitly specify which HTTP version they should pick. In this implementation, I specifically did that. So by default, it's 1.1. And if you want to upgrade it, you need to specify an HTTP version. I don't know if we should allow people to accept, like, yes, HTTP 1, no HTTP 2, yes, HTTP 3. That seems like, but also very weird because of how uh, the underlying socket implementation is. Like you have to switch. I don't know. It sounds Sounds weird. Yeah, Paolo, go ahead, please.
Well, the thing is that I think in theory, I mean, I see your concern about security, and I do believe that, of course, we need an option to narrow it down and, for instance, say I only allow 1 and 3. That would be absolutely possible. The thing is that in your in your comment, you also wrote what happens if we don't support any particular version. The thing is that first of all, we have to distinguish between the two different use possibility. If we enable 1 or 2, we enable a TCP socket. If we enable 3, of course, we listen on a UDP socket. So basically, this is of course the very first level of but the very big difference. So for instance, if you only enable HTTP3, there's nothing you're gonna have to do for 1 and 2 because simply you're not gonna open a TCP socket, and of course the other way around. The only possible case we have to deal about is if we support 1 and 2, of course, on the same socket, which is the HTTPS socket for HTTP 1.1 and 2.0. But of course, in that case, I believe that if we don't enable the two different parsers, basically the connection will be rejected as unsupported protocol. So it's not really an issue to only enable a certain protocol. For instance, if you have HTTP1 on a socket and you don't have HTTP2, and somebody tries to connect with HTTP2, for instance, if we choose to use Milo will reject it, say this is an unexpected character. And of course, it should happen on the other way around. And if you, for instance, try to upgrade HTTP 1.2.2, Milo might or might not reject it. We can decide how to behave. That's the idea. So I think we can support fine-grained support to the 3 different versions of the protocol. But my suggestion is, by default, since we want to have a good user experience and we want to simplify the API compared to the current HTTP implementation, let's start with auto by default. And eventually, we, of course, tell people that this might be a security issue, so double check which version you want to enable. But by default, we enable all of them.
Yeah, and I guess also the issue could be upgrading from HTTP2 to HTTP3 because then you have to switch socket and it's painful. I think
Is that supported?
I don't know if it's possible, but like what I see and how would I start this is that you have to explicit at the beginning, the moment that you create the HTTP server, you have to specify one version and then you accept the like that specific protocol, and that's it. So we keep it simple. If we see in the future that people are going to request this feature, then we will discuss it. But at the beginning, I wouldn't even consider the possibility of having this kind of configurability like this one.
So basically, by default, at the beginning, you would support all of them at all.
I mean, at the absolute beginning, I would support only HTTP1. So by default, it's HTTP1. Then you add support for HTTP2, but then you have to explicitly pass the version that you want at the beginning when you create the HTTP server. Then you have to do like basically how this is done. When in the constructor HTTP server, you pass the version. If you want HTTP version 2, in this case it will throw because it's not supported, but then it will start the same inbound TCP socket and read on top of it, and use Milo as the parser. And if you pass in HTTP version 3, then you would have the UDP socket and everything.
The only problem that I see there, I mean, it's not a problem, it's just a choice actually, is that you only support a single version of the protocol. But in theory, you might want to have a server that supports 2 and 3 at the same time on 2 different sockets, obviously.
Yeah, but this is not something that I would do as a
initial. Oh, as a first implementation. I see. Now it makes sense. Okay.
As a first implementation, I would not do it. I don't think that in Node right now it's possible to do it anyways. I think you have the two different constructors for HTTP1 and HTTP2, so I don't think this is
Well,
like something that you can do.
the problem is that you are right. First of all, you are right because they are completely different modules. They don't share anything except of the underlying network implementation, which is of course the net module. The thing is that in Node, the reason is that HTTP2 was created as a new module, completely distinguished by HTTP1 or HTTP or HTTPS modules, and they don't use, for instance, LLHTTP because they use NG HTTP2, which we might not do on the new API. And moreover, since they completely went on a different implementation, they use a different software. They are completely separated modules. But in our case, we won't try to unify the implementation. Otherwise, we end up in the same situation where, for instance, we maintain HTTP but not HTTP2 or the other way around. So we want to try to reuse everything we can, and therefore we can probably support at the same time. With the current implementation in Node, this is not possible because they don't share anything.
Yeah, I mean, this is like on the low level implementation, like that should be a goal to be able to switch
Yep.
protocol. But at the beginning, I wouldn't see this as one of the initial goals of this. Like we should keep in mind that it's something that we
Yes.
want to do. So I assume that the implementation of the bound TCP socket can be the same. There are only a bunch of like how you handle data and like the streaming of data that changes between HTTP1 and HTTP2. So all these differences should be abstracted by like a layer. So when you switch from the two is transparent.
Yep.
But I don't see this, for example, working for HTTP3. So
for 3, no, I don't think it is. I don't think there is even a mechanism to switch between from TCP to UDP, because you have to establish a new socket and eventually switch over to the new socket. Switch from a socket, a TCP socket to a UDP socket is a mess. But the thing is that the only point I will make is that make sure that we have to make sure that we establish that eventually switching between protocols is an explicit objective of this group, so that we don't have the temptation to diverge when we work on the actual implementation.
yeah,
Even
I
if
do
we just
agree.
support one at the beginning, okay, we're fine. We are on the same page.
Yeah. So yeah, we should add this on this discussion. Like I will leave a comment saying that I believe that at the beginning we should just support this way of handling version, but the goal of this work should also be able to switch protocol version seamlessly and like to have this similar implementation so that we can switch in a way that's like sustainable in the future and not to repeat the same mistake of having like different, like even if we implement this we still have one constructor for all HTTP version, which is already better than what we have on Node right now, because right now we have already two constructor and HTTP3 that we don't have yet constructor. So this is already an improvement.
Okay, yeah, definitely an improvement.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I will add it on top. Anything else you guys want to discuss on this topic? We only have this item in the agenda, which is kind of weird. Oh wait, we have someone else wanting to join. Wait, sorry.
I know actually there is Fred that say we can't upgrade in HTTP3. Fred, just to clarify, you mean that we can't upgrade from 2 to 3 or eventually switch from 3 to other protocols, right?
That's my understanding that it doesn't support any upgrade in the HTTP spec or changing protocol. So status 101.
I see. But actually, I'm also curious on this. Maybe you people, because I haven't dug into HTTP at all. But for instance, when you connect to an host, right? We can eventually say switch to HTTP2. I mean, there is a mechanism on the TCP socket. But for instance, if we receive a connection on HTTP1 and we want to tell the client, please switch to the HTTP3, there is no way, because even the default port is still 80, so we can't rely on the address. There is no way to denote a URL to use HTTP3, right?
And that is my understanding. It's not going to be possible.
I mean, I wonder if, I mean, that probably is not even part of the responsibility of this group. We should probably suggest them maybe a mechanism to the IEEE to do that, right? If we care about it. I mean, find a solution for that, because right now you can't. And I don't think there is a HTTP3 scheme probably in the default protocols.
Perhaps that would be one of those examples where a userland library would make sense to sort of take care of that use case.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, if the client and the server agrees, we just need an header. We use a specific, I don't know, we use a 303 response, and we provide a specific header to the response header, and we say, please use HTTP, you're done. But we should do this as a vendor extension, which is not standard. We should probably suggest a way to do it in a standard way eventually. But I mean, that's probably way above the scope of this group, honestly. I was just genuinely curious on this.
Ooh. Yeah. So I guess the next step on this one is to share what we talked about today under this issue. Not this one. This one. Issue 113. And yeah, move from there. Okay. Is there anything else on this topic?
Not on my side. Or maybe the only announcement, I hope to deliver a working version of Milo in 11 within a month, probably. I think I solved the performance issue, so I should be able to finally ship it. At least a preliminary integration in 11, so we can start playing with Milo in a real scenario and see what happens.
Can you share any detail on that? Like, I'm genuinely curious to see how this is going to evolve.
Yeah, once I finalize the code, yes, because I'm enjoying my month off. So
okay, so yeah, I guess that probably would be interesting to discuss in the next meeting about the work being done on Undici.
yeah.
See if I can make an issue and add it to the agenda. Yeah. Anything else?
Not on my side.
This was the only topic, so if there is nothing else, I guess we can just close today's meeting and give you back some of your time.
Amazing.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
folks. Have a nice one.
Cheers.
Cheers.